Jared gave me some brief pointers and things that he wanted me to talk about. The first one was a bit of my pre-season, what I generally did. If I wasn't going overseas to play, I normally took around about 4 weeks off. I didn't like to take too long off because the body got a bit sore. And I would then just go to the nets by myself a couple of times a week and try and bowl 30 or 40 balls in a session. And often I didn't use a run-up, I just often stand at the crease and check on technical things for myself during that early start of pre-season. For me, that was making sure that my body was lined up with where I wanted to bowl. Was I using my front arm to gain some power, and my wrist position to check that the ball was coming out of my fingers correctly. And that's pretty much what I did for around about a month to 6 weeks. And then I would just start increasing my workload and bowling against players and bowling off a runner during that pre-season period until we got around about a month before the season. Then I was bowling a lot of balls. I know there's quotas now for younger players. As a senior player, I was expected to bowl 30, 35 overs straight, so I was bowling anywhere up to around about 2 hours during the session, which equates to around about 120 balls during a training session. So that was my pre-season structure, as well as doing everything, all the running and the weights and that sort of stuff that you do just to keep yourself in good condition. Next point was weekly workloads. You generally have around about 3 net sessions, or you used to have around about 3 net sessions. And as a young player, I bowled lots. And that I got a lot of fitness from that. You bowl anywhere up to 3 hours, depending on how many of the guys wanted to bat for long periods of time. So that was my weekly workload. As I got a bit older, I sometimes chose not to bowl as much, just to make sure my body and my shoulder was okay. Strength and conditioning, the boys probably tell you a bit more about it now, but at kind of the peak level I was probably doing about 10 fitness sessions a week, up to 12 or 13 actual training sessions when we were peaking. So it was a lot of cricket. There was sessions in the morning and in the afternoon. Match day preparation, kind of a lot of hydration before, plenty of water. I used to get up fairly early, make sure I was had my mind on the game, and normally get into the game around about an hour and a half before, so you're ready to an hour before, so you're ready to get out of the field and start warming up about an hour before. When I became club coach here before Jared, I used to change that setup a little bit and used to warm up a lot closer to the match. I'm not sure how many teams do that now, but we would warm up 25 minutes before, and teams would be out in the park for half an hour before us. I just thought that we wanted to warm up, get ready to go, and go straight out and play. Was what I kind of put into the club, but I'm not sure what you do now.
Yeah, we go for about 45 minutes of stuff, have a break, then go out and do your specific stuff after the toss.
Yeah. Jared, I want to talk about a little bit about process. Whenever I came on the bowl, I always focused on my first couple of overs, making sure they were as tight as possible, trying to set a bit of a tone for my bowling for the day. And I just assess my bowl, kind of on the conditions. So if we were playing out here, it's a very flat wicket. I knew that I wasn't going to be turning the ball a long way, and I had to be very consistent. Other grounds like South would give you a bit more scope to be a bit more adventurous with how you bowl. The fielding, well, it's a key element when you're bowling spin, because a lot of balls are going into the field. More so than quick bowls, a lot of them are going through to the keeper. So you always get key players in front of the wicket. That's what I used to try and do. So the guys that could move very well, I'd have them in the cover and mid-off positions, or mid-wicket and mid-on. And that was kind of essential. Also, your own bowling, trying to work and make sure that the ball never gets past you, and trying to protect that area just right in front of you. Goal setting. My goals often were kind of team orientated, especially when I was a coach. But personal ones, we used to try and set them up game by game. You know, events where you're playing and what the ground's going to be like. So I like to set myself goals for each of the day's play, knowing who I was going to be bowling against, how I needed to bowl. And then my mental approach, I was always tried to be up, positive body language, and as a player I tended to speak a lot when I was bowling, talking to my other players and also to the umpire, just to try and keep everyone in the game as a bowler. So, and just very positive, very upbeat, and try and challenge the batter, get into a contest. And that really would help me a lot. Never tried to focus too much on myself. I would always know myself before I got to the game, so I always just try to get in and compete when I got out in the middle.
I guess moving over to the floor, does anyone have any questions, I guess especially our spin bowlers or aspiring spin bowlers, or maybe even our batsmen of working out, trying to get into a spin bowler's mind? Does anyone have any questions, or do you want me to start something off? Craig Phillipson.
Charlie, with your fields, mate, when you first start bowling, do you tend to set an aggressive field early? Or would you set more of a defensive field to get yourself, allow yourself to get in the game a bit?
Depending on the circumstance, I just went for it. I had good captains, Craig's one of my captains actually. But when I first started, Ken Neely, the Ian's brother, was my captain, and he just put guys around the bat and said good luck. But it helped me kind of get over the fear of bowling. It's a very attacking field, so I was used to that. Some players don't like that; they like to have the field spread to get them into it. But I always figured you mustn't dive in the deep end and just have a crack at it.
David.
You hit first ball of an over, you hit for a 4 or a 6.
Yeah.
How does that change it?
Yeah, it does.
Change your mind?
Normally, in an over setup, you're trying to get a couple of dot balls, set the player up. So it does alter your way you're going to bowl to him. Depending on the circumstance of the game at the time, you try and make the rest of the over very tight. Unless you can read the body language of the player. If he's just going to keep having a slog at you, get the field right, and you don't need to give players like that a lot of weight. They'll tend to hang themselves a little bit. So if you're a very aggressive player coming at you, you know they're going to keep coming at you. You don't have to give the ball heaps of flight or anything like that. They're going to start charging it no matter what. So that's where it plays in your hands a little bit.
So what's your preference? Would you prefer a batsman be coming at you, or would you prefer a batsman be sitting back?
Depending on...
As a spin bowler?
Yeah, I don't mind coming down at you. I didn't like them continually driving me too much. The best players, well, the most annoying players were the ones who could come down and look at them working with a gap and turn a strike over. They're just continually coming, they hit it to the field, that's never an issue. You always feel like you're in the game, man.
Oh, sorry, coaching young boys bowling around wicket or changing if it's a left-hander or a right-hander, would you teach them to say over wicket, or really depend on when did you decide?
Yeah, always generally start around the wicket to lefties, just personal preference.
Yeah.
Some lefties are particularly strong though, and you'll find sometimes if you want to try and work across the ball, you can bowl over the wicket so the ball goes across them as an off-spin bowler. But generally, I would come around the wicket and try and bowl
Straight
away.
away.
Yeah, straight away.
Charlie?
With your first couple of overs, are you just looking for stock balls? No variation?
Yeah, most of my overs are stock balls. Yeah, just changing your pace really, playing with your arm heights, all that kind of changes the batter's perception. You don't have to do a lot just to throw the batter off. I think some people think, oh, you got to bowl these big change-up deliveries, and you don't really. You can be fairly subtle. Some players are just, they're just going to go for you no matter what, so it doesn't matter what you're doing. But the better players, if they're waiting and watching and that, you need to change your pace and change your wrist position and those sort of things. Change the way the ball bounces. On this wicket out here, I learned to bowl a lot of spinning deliveries and heavy overspinning deliveries because you didn't get a lot of sideways spin. But where you could change the game was by changing the way that the ball would bounce. And that's what I tended to do when I played at university.
For young players, have you got any tips or advice as far as drills that they can do in the nets and rising styles?
Yeah, I was a big believer, and I was just doing a few minutes just standing there, bowling just from a standing start, no runner, just to check that the body was aligned and doing what it should be, and then I'd go back and add the run up in. So I tend to bowl, you know, a dozen balls or so, 12 balls, just standing start. You get a bit of confidence from that too, because you tend to turn the ball more. When you start adding your run up in, that's where things start to go, can go a little bit wrong. So that always gave me a little bit of confidence. You could see it straight, it always came out a little bit slower.
I've got a couple here for you, Scott. One of them, we've got some boys that are at the moment or in the next couple of years will be pushing towards representative cricket. And I guess coming from yourself, who played a lot of grade cricket going up to state cricket, how did you prepare for that next level? And what were the differences between
Well, the ball's different for starters, which is always a bit tricky. But yeah, try and make sure you're training with that ball. The ball you're using, not cricket, the ball you're using in first class cricket, different. Feels different in the hand. So that was one thing that was a little bit kind of daunting when you go into short cricket, because you want to try and feel comfortable, and all of a sudden you're using a ball that's a little bit different and the seam's tighter. I found that in my first couple of games a bit strange. Trying to bowl to good players too, isn't it? So if Matt Hayden was a trainer.